This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
43 days more to go and the voting population of Tamil Nadu will step foot into the polling booths across the state and ink their support for the leader of their choice. So which way will the politics here in the state really sway, and who will reign at the end of this political game? Our executive editor Sanjay Pinto joins us on the show tonight to answer some of those questions. Also joining us is our senior correspondent Peer Muhammad, as well as our business reporter Ashmit Kumar, who's going to add more angles to what the poll dates announcement today really holds for the different stakeholders in the state. Good evening, I'm Evelyn Matthew, and these are the headlines now. It's an early summer election for the state of Tamil Nadu. Polling will be on the 13th of April. Puducherry and Kerala also share the dates to be the first to go into polls. For the first time, there will be a month's gap before results are announced on Friday the 13th of May. Meanwhile, the state government moves the Supreme Court, asking them to vacate the state on Legislative Council elections for Tamil Nadu. A spooked A. Raja takes after Kasab's style. He will now appear before the Delhi court through video conferencing. After the union budget fails to impress the common man, Karunanidhi lowers the sales tax on petrol in an election-targeted strategy. A senior official of the State Boxing Association is put behind bars for harassing a woman boxer. A mob attacks the accused. And as the Deputy Chief Minister M.K. Stalin turns 59, the VCK chief joins DMK party cadres to wish the errand waiting. Let's also bring you the rest of the day's stories nationally. The process of setting up a parliamentary committee to investigate the country's largest scam begins. 11 death sentences, 20 sentenced to life. The Godhra train verdict is announced by a special court. The Supreme Court says no to a fresh murder probe against the Todis in the Rizwanur case. And all my people love me, maintains a defiant Gaddafi. Even as protesters close in on Tripoli, the United States call him delusional. Well, the big date has been announced. Tamil Nadu will be going to the polls as early as the 13th of April, and it is going to be a single-phased election. The Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi today made that announcement and added that the notification date will be the 19th of March, and the fate of all 4 states and 1 union territory going to the polls this year will be known on the 13th of May. While West Bengal notably will have a 6-phase polls, the model code of conduct comes into effect immediately. This time around, overseas Indians will be allowed to vote. There will be around 54,016 polling stations in the state of Tamil Nadu. A toll-free number, that's 1965, will also be open to register complaints.
Particularly in vulnerable areas, the storage of polled EVMs. Tamil Nadu, single phase again. The same date for poll and same notification date, which is notification 19th March, date of poll 13th April. Puducherry, again single phase, same date as Tamil Nadu and Kerala, which is notification 19th March, date of poll 13th April.
Well, joining me on the big discussion on the poll dates that were announced today is our executive editor Sanjay Pinto, who joins us in the studios. Also joining us from our newsroom is Peer Muhammad, our senior correspondent, who is going to be giving us the mood from the election camps, from the different political parties camp, the main opposition camp in particular. Joining us also is our business reporter Ashmit Kumar, who is going to be bringing us more on the freebies factor, especially that's particular to the state of Tamil Nadu. First off to you, Sanjay, what's going to be the most crucial factor, since this has caught most political parties here in the state off guard?
I think first is to get the ball rolling, because I'm sure all of them have been caught completely unawares. Most of them would have expected polling to take place the first week of May. This is the first time in the history of Tamil Nadu, I think, that there will be such a big gap, or a month exactly, between the date of polling and the date of counting. Now, parties have not yet, they have identified their allies, they have not yet actually signed seat sharing agreements with all of them. The Ms. Jayalalitha has allotted a few seats to small marginal players, but of course the big players, DMDK, MDMK, they are yet to actually sign that seat sharing pact. Again, in the DMK camp, the Congress and Mr. Karunanidhi are yet to ink that deal. They've had 2 rounds of talks which have been inconclusive. Again, this demand for power sharing, the Congress wanting a larger share of the electoral pie this time around. Not very happy with the fact that Mr. Karunanidhi has gone ahead and given the PMK, actually signed a deal with the PMK, giving them 31 seats, the same that they had contested the last time around. Again, also signing up that deal, giving 10 seats to the VCK. So, parties now will have to, both sides of the divide, the AIADMK-led front and the DMK-led front, will have to really, have sprint virtually and get the seat sharing talks, in progress and get them out of the way. Sign those deals. And also, seat sharing is one thing, sharing of numbers, talking about numbers, and identification of constituencies, especially the winnable constituencies, is quite another. And of course, then of course, to get onto the campaign, to hit the campaign trail, as it were, Ashmit, Peer and I, and of course I'm sure you too, we'll all will take away our blazers and roll up our sleeves and hit the campaign. Absolutely. The heat and dust, April is going to be a long hot summer for all of us. Yes. So I think the main challenge now is to hit the campaign trail, but you can do that only after you sign your seat sharing agreements with everyone. That's going to be the biggest challenge. Also, everyone mustn't forget that the DMK had actually planned, probably anticipating elections to take place in the first week of May, had planned this mega conference in Trichy on the 27th of this month as a sort of a boost, preparedness for their party cadre. So what they're going to do about that, we really don't know. Whether they will, obviously they'd probably try and advance that date, or maybe they might just cancel it. I've been trying to speak to certain DMK spokespersons, but we'll not be able to reach most of them. Hopefully in our next few bulletins, we'll be able to give them some update on that. We don't know if the DMK has actually taken a call on that. Today they celebrated the birthday of MK Stalin's 59th birthday. So we'll have to really wait and see how all this plays out when they actually hit the campaign trail. Let's go across to Peer Mohammed, my colleague, senior correspondent here. Peer, you've been covering the AIADMK and of course also the DMDK. I know you're in close touch with Panruti Ramachandran also. That birthday gift that the DMDK gave Ms. Jayalalitha on the 24th of last month, to say that their goal was to oust the DMK, and towards that goal they would do anything. But again, how much of credibility will this alliance really bring to the table? Because at the end of the day, Mr. Vijay Kant, when he launched his party, I remember being there in Madurai when he launched his party, had said that his alliance is only with God. But this time around, and also he's had been banking heavily on the legacy of MGR. This time around, his campaign style may have to be altered dramatically, right? Because I don't think Ms. Jayalalitha would want him to again use MGR in his campaigns.
Yes, Sanjay, this AIADMK's deal with the DMDK is likely to be sealed by this week. According to the sources in the AIADMK and the DMDK, they say maybe tomorrow or on Friday they will be, because they are looking for an auspicious date when they can finalize the deal. Today being one of the inauspicious days, they did not come together to sign the deal, but this week the AIADMK and the DMDK will be signing the deal according to top sources. Also, the other factor that they will...
What about number 13, lucky or unlucky for that front?
That's again in Western terminology, it's an inauspicious day, but in AIADMK and DMDK's terminology, you have to see what they are thinking about it. They haven't reacted to it yet.
Because it's both the date of polling as well as the date of counting. Yeah. That really matters. But again, on a more serious note, the campaign issue this time really, I mean, is it going to be corruption mainly? I know the AIADMK has been going to the common man. There have been a spectrum of protests on corruption led by the AIADMK or virtually almost every district. They've also, Ms. Jayalalitha has tried to, in fact, simplify, this complicated spectrum jargon, holding this, for instance, the AIADMK unit in Kumbakonam held that Kolam contest with 2G, where they wrote 1.76 lakh crore and so on and so forth. Again, the strategy seems to be to not call it Spectrum or 2G, but to just call it cell phone scam. Also, Ms. Jayalalitha has reached out to various sections this time around. She's also gone to Kanyakumari for Christmas celebrations. So what do you think is going to be the big election issue, the theme of this particular election?
Yeah, definitely the family rule, they are hopping on two issues. One is the family rule, particularly the opposition, both Vijaykanth and Jayalalitha are hopping on the family rule, and also the corruption, biggest corruption in independent India. That is the slogan they are going to raise. Who do you want to choose, the most corrupt regime or the other one? That is going to be the slogan according to the AIADMK and the DMDK. Even DMDK chief Vijaykanth recently came out with a statement on the 2G scam. He was quite silent on that issue for quite a long time. But recently he came out with a statement saying that the chief minister's family names are figuring in the spectrum controversy. They should also be now interrogated. He should be dismissed. His government should be dismissed to make way for a free and fair inquiry.
Okay, that's what the opposition right now has been saying. But let's also go across to Ashmit Kumar, who will tell us about the business of elections. Ashmit, our business correspondent. Peer Mohammed there making the valid point about corruption, about dynastic politics there, the family rule. What about freebies? Because to give the DMK credit, they have rolled out a slew. It's soap opera of a different sort here. Even today there was this announcement there about petrol and about the subsidy. So clearly, how much of a dent do you think the DMK's freebie culture, as it were, will actually tilt the scales or help them in this election, facing as they are anti-incumbency and also the ghost of 2G, which is well and truly there to haunt them?
Well, Sanjay, you put it there pretty appropriately, soap opera. That's what the DMK seems to be banking on. Now, again, they have, as you mentioned, again, a slew of sops in store for the Aam Aadmi. The finance minister may have given them the miss, but the DMK and the chief minister are definitely no mood to miss out on the Aam Aadmi, because they definitely see this. Seeing from all the actions that we are seeing from the DMK, definitely feels, one is definitely getting the sense that they do feel that these sops will definitely have an impact, have a bearing on the way people are going to vote, the way people will perhaps in a way tilt towards the DMK. They are definitely favouring that. And of course, as you mentioned today, we did see
the development. I mean, you've been covering all these SEZs and so many, I mean, the automobile hub that Chennai has become, the insurance scheme. A lot of people believe, at least, what we've observed, at least in corporate hospitals, gone are the days when, the lower middle class people will not really be able to set foot into a corporate hospital. Today, that seems to be a sign of empowerment, where you have very ordinary citizens going and availing treatment, the best treatment at corporate hospitals, thanks to the Kalaignar insurance scheme, also the housing scheme. Last time around, they said that, in fact, Mr. Chidambaram had called the DMK manifesto the hero of the election. That's when color TVs really did the trick. But this time around, there's also been talk of power failure, and several other law and order has also been cited as an issue. Again, do you think it's, the analogy of Queen Maria Antoinette, if there's no bread, eat cakes. This time around, if there's no power, watch TV. Do you think that could be one of the points that the opposition could raise?
Well, it's hard to say, but then the DMK at this point seems to be taking a very comprehensive approach in terms of offering sops. As you pointed out very correctly there is the health insurance scheme, and that obviously comes on the back of the fact that some of the taxes in terms of healthcare have been hiked, so that should definitely act as an incentive. Also the fact that today we saw petrol. Now petrol in the run-up to the budget we saw was a very prime concern. So today the prices were slashed, and in fact we are also getting just reports just a few minutes back that only a few minutes before S.Y. Qureshi made the statement about the election dates, did the government give a nod for another set of 17 road projects, in fact, which have been given the go-ahead. So again, a lot of favors, a lot of sops have actually been pulled through here to actually attract votes this time, and they're definitely banking in them. And as you again, household project, and that in fact has been put on the in the fast track at this point. In fact, in districts such as Coimbatore, where DMK took a beating last time, they are definitely in overdrive. In fact, we are getting inputs that some of the workers have been assigned as far as 30 people, 30 voters for every party worker to actually take care of, to ensure that they are put on the fast track, and that these sops, which are this process basically is facilitated of offering television sets, be it housing projects, projects. Money has been allocated. We understand that 75,000 rupees had been allocated for every thatched roof house to be converted into a concrete house. Many houses have been identified. We hear about the housing scheme, and also the fact that educational overdrive, there seems to be a hiring in certain education institutions which are again sponsored by the government. So again, a lot of stops that have been offered.
Job fairs also in several districts also has had its impact. One cannot deny that. But clearly, till the very last few minutes, the DMK has managed to roll out this soap opera as well, the freebie express as well. Let's go back to Peer Mohammed. Peer, again, the question of defections. For instance, even recently, Shekhar Babu from North Chennai crossing over to the DMK camp. How much of an impact that will make? Because the DMK's vote share in North Chennai had recently taken a beating. It had been dented. Shekhar Babu, at least DMK insiders say, can help the DMK, can bolster the DMK's chances in at least about 14 assembly segments in North Chennai.
Yes, Anjay, particularly Chennai, the last time in 2006 assembly elections, almost half the seats are won by the AIADMK. Since then, the DMK is closely working on Chennai, particularly in 2009 general elections also. The North Chennai was won by the DMK thanks to the work put in by Kanimoli and her camp for TK's Ilangovan. Now that they have also got Shekhar Babu in their fold, it will be, they will be working more vigorously to retain North Chennai. V.S. Babu, the North Chennai district secretary, is also working very vigorously to get DMK at least half of the seats in North Chennai segments, because they were particularly, it was very weak during the 2006 assembly election. Now they have made inroads into North Chennai particularly, but South Chennai also is going to be more challenging. Yeah.
All right, Pete, also before we head into a break, very briefly, the caste factor. How do you think this is going to really play out? The PMK, of course, the one-year belt in northern Tamil Nadu. You've also got the VCK on the side of the DMK. And the other side, of course, you've got the DMDK. Again, many say that the PMK cannot claim monopoly of the one-year vote share. The AIADMK also has its traditional pocket boroughs. How do you see the caste factor really playing out? Has the parties respective front stand, given the way the alliances have been cobbled up?
Yes, last in 2006, the factor is that the VCK was with the AIADMK, and that is why the votes split on both the sides. It was a divided verdict. Now that the PMK and VCK are in the DMK camp, it is going to be advantage DMK in northern districts. But given the kind of support Vijay enjoys in the northern districts, it is going to be quite challenging. So it will be a balanced, equally balanced camps on both the sides. It is going to be a tough fight on both the sides. Given the cost factor, it is going to be advantage DMK, but given the electorate which is looking beyond the cost factor is going to be with the AIADMK and Vijay Gandhi in the northern districts.
All right, thank you very much, Peer. Thank you, Ashmit, for joining us. Evelyn?
Right, so gathering different points of view, whether it's business-wise or even from political circles there from our reporters. We'll slip into a very short break at this moment, and we'll be back with more of the discussion. Last final thoughts from all of our reporters, as well as our executive editor here who is joining us in our studios. We'll be back after this short break.